Hey, what's going on, guys? FlynnMasters coming at you with another video of my contestant ranking series, and today I have the very tough duty of ranking every season 13 chef from my least to favorite. And to me, there's a clear favorite and least favorite chef of mine, but everyone else I'm pretty damn neutral about. So this was a very interesting list to put together. But let's get right on into it with my least favorite chef of the season, with that being Steve. And yeah, Steve was a mini Russell to me, just always seemed to be in a bad mood. Him being the leader with Aaron and Santos to throw that service was beyond pathetic. His obvious ridiculous hatred of Sterling, like how awful of a person you have to be to hate Sterling. I feel like he lasted longer than he should have, and the big thing is, I felt absolutely no remorse for him whatsoever during his injury. So Steve, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated douchebags in Hell's Kitchen history. And speaking of Aaron, he lands just above Steve at 17, and pretty much Steve's right-hand man, and one could even argue he had even more of a hate boner for Sterling than Steve. But obviously the big thing in his favor is quitting just to mess with Bryant and not give Bryant the satisfaction of surviving over him after his outrage. So that was pretty funny. So not much, obviously, but it does make him better than Steve. And now we enter the realm of extremely forgettable chefs this season, especially on the red team, with the one I like the least being Deneen. And yeah, just not a very good chef, but seemed to think she was way better than she was, so that was kind of annoying. Adds nothing to the season. I mean, she's Deneen. Like, what else do you want me to say about her? At number 15 is Katie, who is obviously forgettable, and I also was annoyed she survived over Kaylin when she nominated herself. Like, they both immediately had a good night on appetizers. In my opinion, you know, that should have been the tiebreaker that sent her home, but whatever. I mean, she's cute, I guess, but just a complete nothing character in the history of the show. At number 14 is JP, who is as plain as can be, but at the same time, a pretty decent first boot. Obviously, you know, Ramsay's insult of him and JR is one of the better moments of the season. Him finishing his dish 20 minutes early to go and almost get eliminated right then and there was obviously crazy. Him trying to throw Aaron under the bus at elimination backfired big time. So I mean, he's enough of a train wreck first boot to rank him, you know, relatively high, at least compared to some of the other forgettable boots below him. At number 13 is Janae, who, while of course is still insanely forgettable, I always thought her reaction to get on the show was funny, especially since she ended up being an early boot anyway. Like, damn, that's tough that they showed her so excited. Her mistake of forgetting that count in episode 1 was also pretty funny, but at the same time, like, beside that little mistake, you know, she did damn well on that dreaded fish station. In my opinion, a major reason why the red team completed opening night. And if she didn't stuck the very next service, Sterling might have been the second boot of the season. So, you know, thank goodness for Janae. Again, it's not a lot, but at least it's something for her. On to an interesting chef here in Kaylin. You know, again, I won't deny she wasn't great and kind of annoying. And had Ramsay just based his decision to eliminate her on past performance, I wouldn't have minded. But the fact that he based it on the team's decision just made no sense to me. And, you know, because he never really cares about it. So, and especially when you had Katie nominate herself next to Kaylin, it just was the easy decision in my opinion. And I never blamed Kaylin for in my opinion, being rightfully upset about that elimination. So on a night where she made like one mistake. So again, I've always kind of defended Kaylin, which is why she's relatively high here at number 12. On to one of the most forgettable Black Jackets of all time, if not the most forgettable, in Santos. And yeah, he does not add much to the season whatsoever, other than taking part in that ridiculous throne of service, like I said earlier. You know, I mean, he wasn't nearly as bad as Steven and Aaron, obviously, but you know, and I guess he fought hard to get a Black Jacket, seemed decent all around, so I guess 11 is a good spot for him. And we now have one of, if not the most forgettable, 8th place finisher in Hell's Kitchen history in Fernando. Now, at least with Fernando, he was obviously a very nice dude who had a somewhat interesting run. Like, he was a big part of the blue team's first 2 awful services, but then made like no mistakes the rest of the season, and was only eliminated due to being a boring TV character, in my opinion. And I guess also due to him crossing his arms in front of Ramsay at nomination, which was pretty funny. So again, a great chef in person, and my respect for him though is honestly the only reason why he's in the top 10, because he's just nothing outside of that. At number 9 is the runner-up of the season in Bryant. And the awful thing about him is, you know, of course, the outrage at his entire team for being nominated when, like, he obviously deserved it. But I guess it was so ridiculous and over the top that it made for a memorable moment this season, so that's good, I guess. But even outside of that, he just wasn't that rootable, despite being a great chef. I mean, I will say he did get off to a somewhat forgotten bad start and rebounded obviously really well. And I do respect him for getting second place on a very tough season. But that's, again, like Fernando, that's pretty much all this ranking is you know, respect ranking. On to the 4th boot of the season now at number 8 in my ranking, with that being JR. Again, arguably the most forgettable chef on the blue team, if not the entire season. But the reason why he is this high is due to being Sterling's #1 during his time, but that's pretty much it. But hey, being Sterling's boy is a massive plus, obviously. So that is something you can say compared to the people below him. So he lands here at #8. At #7, it's another forgettable black jacket, but at least a memorable character this season compared to the rest of the cast. With that being Ro. And yeah, I don't feel much of anything for her despite the show pushing her as a main character, but she did objectively have a pretty interesting run this season, and being a frontrunner early on to having an extremely up and down ride to a black jacket, and ultimately finishing in 5th place. And hey, maybe she made it farther than she should have. I don't really care, honestly. She was a decent enough character this season, which is why she lands here at #7. At #6 is one of the more forgotten and screwed over boots in Hell's Kitchen history, with that being Ashley. And yeah, she was a massive reason why, if not the most important reason why the red team completed opening night service, and was great throughout her entire run despite like one mistake, and had at worst a pretty bad 7th service, and that somehow got her eliminated over 3 other chefs who had done worse than her. Just awful. I'm not saying she, would have been any more memorable than the chefs we talked about so far, but man, she got screwed hard. On to the top 5 now, and we have the quote villain of the season in Jennifer. And despite being this season's villain, like, I don't care too much about her. I will make going back a bit to rewatch this season, or at least like when I talked about her in past videos, like going back to watch her. She was actually a pretty fun villain with a lot of snarky moments, but without being too over the top douchey. And, was a good enough chef who deserved her 4th place finish it. So overall, pretty fun character this season. At #4 is Frank, a pretty interesting character, as coming in, I thought he would for sure be this pretty boy chef donkey to make fun of, only to be a decent chef early on, but had a few hiccups here and there, which got him sent to the red team, and subsequently had an awful service, where for the first time since the Neil, Ramsay had an elimination right after service, with Frank, of course, giving Ramsay his notes, and, not only that, but he had an awful finale performance as well. So yeah, Frank was definitely not who I thought he would be. He was pretty lovable and a genuine guy who provided some really good moments this season. And had he been around just a bit longer, I'm sure he would have been a big enough character to be in my top 3. At #3 is the winner of the season, and Latasha. And obviously, yeah, as a winner, she's extremely forgettable. But as an overall character this season, compared to everyone else, she is pretty fun. I love the spark plug archetype, especially for a female chef, as usually that comes from the blue team. But Latasha always seemed to have a smile on her face and ready to go, and is arguably a top 5 winner in the show's history. That's a pretty damn good resume. And speaking of top 5, we have a top 5 final boots in Hell's Kitchen to talk about now, with that being Sade. And Sade to me was clearly put on to be that shit starter and over-the-top personality this season. So I actually think her being pretty chill and just a fun overall character helps her in this case, while it obviously hurt everyone else this season. Obviously, she provided us with the dog food moment. And again, it's probably the best final boot to not be eliminated at the final 3 challenge, as her past run was just incredible. So she proved me wrong, was a good personality, an amazing chef. And, put that all together, that is why she lands here at #2. But of course, my favorite chef of the season is Sterling. And again, I won't be one of those people who say this season is amazing just because of Sterling. But my God, what a character and human being he is. He takes staying positive and upbeat to a whole new level. Like, he makes freaking Van look like the most negative person on the planet. Like, he is just that infectious of a personality. One of the best characters and people to ever be on the show. So there you have it, guys. My ranking of every season 13 contestant. Please let me know how you'd rank this cast in the comments below, as I'm genuinely interested to see. And be sure to hit that subscribe and like button, and be on the lookout for season 14 tomorrow. And with all that said, take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.